Coming to you from the Deep South, this is the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast. High-impact leadership is not reserved for leaders, and it has nothing to do with your position, title, or rank. However, it does have everything to do with your character. It's time to climb to the next level and beyond, personally and professionally. Now, let's start making it happen with your host, Mac Story.
It is possible at any moment in time to push the reset button, to embrace a different way of being, and experience dramatic change. Those are the words of Bob Chapman. He talks about embracing a different way of being and experiencing dramatic change. And he starts off saying it's possible at any moment in time to push the reset button. Why not today? Why not today? What's stopping you? So before I get started in this episode, I want to welcome you into 2020. Today is January 3rd, 2020. I'm excited to kick off this shorter series than most of my series are 30-part series. This one is actually going to be an 11-part series, including today's episode is kind of an introduction, and then there's going to be a 10-part series that follows it. So total is going to be 11 episodes, but I'm going to be focusing on my book, 10 Foundational Elements of Intentional Transformation, how to become your best self. And I want to give a shout out to Mr. Carlos Cody, and I know he's listening, but he was a big inspiration for me choosing this book to start out 2020 with, because I was either going to do this book or my Blue Collar Leadership and Culture book, which focuses on cultural transformation. So 2020 is going to be focused on my podcast. It's going to be all about transformation. So Carlos wanted me to jump on this book first, and really it's the one that I was thinking about doing, but I really want to do that Blue Collar Leadership and Culture book, but this is really the right one to do. And with with Carlos saying, do that, it just made it a lot easier because he kind of put in a request. And this personal transformation is the foundation for becoming a transformational leader of others. You first have to learn to be able to transform yourself. And you can become a very high impact leader, but I'm here to tell you, you will not be a transformational leader unless you have personally led yourself through personal transformation. In my book, a transformational leader is the highest level leader there is, a truly transformational leader. There's plenty of high impact leaders out there who can motivate and inspire people to do amazing, amazing things. But people who have a transformational story, they have an added influence that you cannot get unless you have led yourself through personal transformation. And that's what Bob's talking about. It's possible at any moment in time to push the reset button, to embrace a different way of being and experience dramatic change. And you can do that over and over and over in your life. You can experience unbelievable transformation. You can push that reset button in different areas of your life at different times. You may be squared away in one area of life, but you really, really need to work on another area of your life. And until you hit the reset button, nothing's going to change. Everything's going to remain the same. So I hope you had a great holiday season, safe, enjoyable. Hope you're in gear. If you're listening to this podcast anywhere near January 3rd, 2020, that means you are already in gear. You already engaged. But I want to raise your level of awareness potentially to personal transformation, because I know, I don't care who you are. I don't care what level leader you are. I don't care how big your bank account is. I don't care how fancy your car is or how nice your house is. I guarantee you, you can get better. And you may need to get a lot better in some areas of your life. They may be part of your life you need to get better in that a whole lot of people don't know about, but you know about it. So no matter if it's a small change or if it's a dramatic change, if it's a public change or a private change, as I walk you through this series, I'm going to share with you a mental roadmap, a how-to roadmap, because this is what I know. Transformation doesn't just happen. We must make it happen. And I know because of the transformation that I've went through. And I'll share more details throughout the series. But to kick it off, I want you to understand where I used to be. A lot of people only know me where I'm at today. And I'm still growing and I'm still transforming. But I used to have one of the shortest tempers of probably anybody on the planet. Instead of loving people and wanting to help people and develop people, I wanted people to stay away from me. I was focused very much on myself and getting myself further ahead in life, and I didn't care, how I come across to other people. I didn't like people. I definitely wasn't trying to help people. I wasn't capable of helping people. I hadn't helped myself yet. But all of that transformation is what got me talking to you today on this podcast. It's pretty cool, and I'll share some of the story again as we go through this series. But what's cool next week, we really kick off and get busy next week. Rhea and I'll be in Princeton, New Jersey, talking to the Advanced Pavement Group folks. We were up there about a year ago, and we'll be back up there this year doing another half-day workshop with them. We'll be talking about change happens, leading yourself and others through change, and we'll be talking about teamwork. And so that's going to be pretty cool. We'll be there on January the 8th, Princeton, New Jersey, and then we'll make our way back down to Martinsburg, West Virginia. We'll be talking to the folks at Berkeley Glass and doing a half-day workshop with them. So we're excited about that coming up next week. And we get to go meet a bunch of new people and start helping them focus on transformation. But we're not going to be talking about this book. But this book and the content and the roadmap is the foundation. It's the foundation. These principles, you can apply them over and over and over in any area of your life. I want to tell you, when I wrote this book, and just to make sure you understand, I'm not going to read you the book. Most of my books are on audio. This book is on audio. If you want to listen to it, you go to Audible, go to Amazon, I believe iTunes. You can listen to it word for word. And you'll get a lot of meat, a lot of nuggets, a lot of gold in 30 chapters, 3 pages each. Take you about 6 minutes or so to listen to an audio chapter. But when I write those chapters, to get 6 or 7 minutes of a chapter written, I may spend 3 or 4 hours just to give you 6 or 7 minutes. So everything's condensed in there. But when I'm talking like this, it's just freestyle, off the cuff. I may turn some pages. I may reference a quote or something like that. But mainly I'm looking at the chapter titles and subtitles and that sort of thing and just talking off the cuff. But this beginning, today's episode, is just really an introduction to what's coming. Because I want to get your mindset right. I want you to think about it. And what I really hope you do, not for me. I got the book. It's laying in front of me. I wrote the book. I don't need the book. But I hope if you're listening to this, you're kicking off 2020 and you're thinking, whatever it is you're thinking, you want to transform. It could be your health. It could be your wealth. It could be relationships. I don't know what it is, but you know what it is. If you're very serious, I highly recommend, don't get the Audible, don't get an audio book. Don't just settle for me on this podcast sharing over the next today plus 10 more weeks. So 11 weeks. One podcast episode at a time. Do not wait for me. If you're serious, I'm going to give you some information right here. You go get the paperback book. Get on Amazon, order the paperback book. You can follow along, chapter by chapter when I'm on here talking. But don't wait on me. Dive into that book. Make it a tool. Make it a resource. Right now, while you may be gung-ho and fired up about change and transformation this year, dive into that book. You can read the entire book, 3 or 4 hours. Then you need to read it again slow and be methodical and think about it and reflect on it and lead yourself out of 2019 into whatever type transformation you need. Because I'm going to tell you this, you don't have to be sick to get better. It don't matter where you are today. It don't matter how much money you make or don't make, how good life appears to be or doesn't appear to be. Everybody can get better. So this book, when I wrote it, I dedicated it to those with the courage to press the reset button and move beyond their current circumstances in order to transform themselves into the person they were destined to be. That's how you get there. And personal transformation, personal development is the foundation for leadership development. So if you're a formal authority leader, if you want to transform your culture, your team, I'm telling you, it starts with you. But another reason you got a double dose of this book. It needs to start with you. You need to learn what's in it, and you need to apply it to yourself to become a transformational leader. But you also need to know what's in it, because there's a lot of people on your team who need to know what's in this book, especially if you're truly trying to transform your culture. So you're going to get this series on personal transformation, and then I may take a few week breaks, a couple of weeks of focusing just on kind of general transformation stuff. Then I'll dive into the Blue Collar Leadership and Culture book, talk about cultural transformation. So what I want to talk to you about, Bob Chapman, I think is how you say his last name. He says, what distinguishes winners from losers is that winners can concentrate at all times on what they can do, not what they can't do. See, a lot of people make excuses. All this stuff they can't do. Like relative to the leadership, speaking business, writing books, all this kind of stuff. When I started down this path, 2012 is when I pulled the plug on my past life and said, this is what I want to do. That was another step of transformation for me. What I wanted to do was go speak. If you've seen me speak, if I've been in your organization or at a conference, what you saw me doing, that's what I wanted to do in 2012. But I didn't get to do that in 2012 because nobody was hiring me to do those things. That was what I couldn't do. But that was what I wanted to do. But I didn't focus on what I couldn't do. What could I do? I could keep reading every day, keep pouring into myself, learning, growing, transforming. I could write books, all that sort of stuff. And I did. I got a ton of books already. So did Rhea, my wife. But I want to tell you this. People who knew me when I was young, especially a teenager, when I was in high school and probably the first really 10 years of after high school, I was an idiot. I was an idiot. So I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm transparent in that book about some of the biggest things personally for me that I transformed. And I share those in the 10 foundational elements of intentional transformation. But I'm going to share a lot of different stories with you here that may not be in the book. Probably not. And I may not share the ones that are in the book. I've had a lot of transformation. But people who don't know me, I always tell people, the person you knew in the past, he doesn't live here anymore. He moved out years ago. But actually, that person didn't move out. I kicked him out. But see, it's all about perspective. Because in a sense, that person who I used to be, no one ever sees him anymore. He doesn't show up. But in another way, that person is still inside of me and still wants to come out. And I'm going to tell you why. I was speaking recently with my wife Rhea, and we were speaking to some teenage girls who had been victims of human trafficking, victims of sexual trafficking. And Rhea speaks to them pretty much every week when we're home. all around the Atlanta area. She travels and speaks to the girls and some adult women. But I was talking about my transformation to these young ladies a while back. And they've been through some stuff, and some of them still going through some stuff. And they ain't done going through stuff because life happens. But they've been through some rough stuff. And when they get back out into their family, when they get out of these homes and they get put back out into the world, a lot of them go back to the exact same family that allowed them to go end up where they were at. But one of these young girls asked me a cool question. That day I was talking, she said, Mac, you ever want to go back? You ever want to go back and be who you used to be? And she was asking because who she used to be kind of got her to where she was, which was not a good place. And she was asking me if I wanted to go back because she had heard some of my story and she knew I wasn't in a good place because of my temper. I had an unbelievable temper. I drank alcohol. I partied. I was very reactive, or a lot of people use the term negative to describe that person. I was narcissistic. Knowing what I know today, there's no doubt I was narcissistic. And I'm going to tell you this, there's a lot of people who are very narcissistic. And they ain't got a clue they're narcissistic. They don't know what they don't know. I don't know if you're one of them, but I guarantee you know one of them. There's a lot of us out there. And I'm not that guy anymore, but I used to be. But when I was, I didn't have a clue I was. And I also blamed other people for my circumstances constantly. So that young lady asked me, Mac, do you ever want to go back? I just looked at her and I said, every day. Every day I wanted to go back. And see, I want to tell you a little nugget right here. It comes out of my wife Rhea's book, Straight Talk, The Power of Effective Communication. It's where I read what I'm about to share with you, a quote from her. She said, transparency is the purest form of truth-telling. That's what Rhea said. Transparency is the purest form of truth-telling. So I'm very transparent in this book. I'm transparent in my book, Defining Influence. It's about 250 pages, but that book's got a lot of my personal journey and transformation in it. But why is transparency the purest form of truth-telling? Why? And when I read that from Rhea, I thought, why? Why? I literally thought about it. And then I actually edited her book and put my quote in there, and she left it because she liked it. But it caused me to think. And that's what my podcast and my books are about, being thought-provoking content. What you think about is much more important most of the time than what you hear me talk about. And that's what happened to me when I read that. And I said, why is transparency the purest form of truth-telling? And I come up with this. Transparency is telling the truth when you don't have to, simply because you want to. And I do that from the stage, and I teach this lesson I'm teaching you. Because most people don't know to ask the questions. But when you're transparent and tell somebody something, and you're vulnerable, and you're honest, authentic, and you tell them something they didn't even know to ask, that builds trust. And remember, the foundation of influence or leadership is trust. And I'm talking about authentic influence. Without trust, if you don't have authentic influence, with authentic influence, if you don't have trust, you don't have any influence. The only influence you'll have is artificial influence, position, title, rank, authority, control, that sort of stuff. So when she asked me, do you ever want to go back? I just was very transparent with her. I said every day, because that's who I am naturally. Who I used to be is who I can be. I can still be that guy without any effort. That's who I was naturally. But as I started growing and developing, getting older, but mainly when I started reading leadership books and personal growth development books in 2008, and I've been doing it every day since then, that's when I really had my eyes open. and the mirror popped up in front of me. And I started figuring out I wasn't such a good guy. I wasn't such a good husband. I wasn't such a good father. I wasn't such a good coworker. I wasn't such a good leader. I wasn't good at a whole lot of things. When I started measuring myself against my potential of what I could be. See, before I started learning all this, I just looked out in the world and found people worse than me and said, oh, I'm a good guy. I'm a good person. See, it's so easy to do that. It's so easy to find someone, and we're the judge, so it's really easy. Find somebody who's not doing as well as us in whatever area of life we want to talk about and make ourselves look good. But as soon as you get in alignment with reality and say, who could I be? Who should I be? All of a sudden, we look bad because we got a lot of work to do. And it's never going to change. I've been into my intentional growth and development journey since 2008. It's 2020. That's almost 12 years. I mean, not quite literally 12 years, but it's about to be 12 years since I very first got into this journey. And when I look at the potential of who I could be compared to who I am today, I still ain't close. I'm way better than I was back in 2008. See, that's something else we can do. We can look back at who we used to be and say, oh, I'm good now. That's no different than looking at somebody else who you're better than and saying, oh, I'm good now. No. Look at who you could be and should be. That's who you measure yourself. If you want to be real with the truth and reality, look in the mirror and say, who could I be? Who should I be? Measure yourself against that and you'll always be busy because you won't ever be good enough. But what you've got to do is always be grateful. No matter where you're at in life, be grateful. Because you're at the starting point to the next level. Always. So always grateful, but never satisfied. So how did I actually transform myself? The short answer, I simply decided I wanted to be a better person. Then I started making better choices and became a better person. But the long answer is actually what you'll find in the book, 10 Foundational Elements of Intentional Transformation. How to become your best self. And again, I hope you get that book. And I hope you read it and you make it a tool. Don't give it away. And use it to launch yourself in 2020. 2020 is all about vision, right? Use it to go look in the mirror. Don't judge yourself against others. Who could you be? Who should you be? Use that as a tool and a resource to take yourself to the next level, year after year after year. So the success stories I share with you, they're not going to be a whole lot of them, but I have to tell you where I'm at so you know where I come from. If I just tell you where I'm at, you don't know where I come from. If I tell you where I was, you don't know how much did I grow and transform. So I'll be sharing some stories of success, but they're not meant to impress you. They're meant to motivate and inspire you to move yourself to the next level and beyond. I'm not here to judge you. I don't even know you. I mean, I may know you, but I don't know who's listening. I'm talking to people in general because what I share applies to everybody. My story is simply that. It's my story. It's what it is. I don't think I'm special. I don't think you're special. I don't think I'm better than anyone else. You shouldn't think you're better than anyone else. What I do think is I'm different than everyone else. And so are you. We're all individuals. We share a lot of values. Some values we don't share. We share dreams. Some dreams we don't share. But you got to get this book. Listen to this episode, this series. And again, I'm not going so deep in depth of what's in the book. The book is a roadmap. I went slow, methodical, a lot of intentional thinking, putting that book together. But again, I'm just speaking to you. I'm trying to motivate and inspire you to actually want to go dive into it. And I'm not here to redo it as an audio book. It's already out there. But Rhea, my wife, she's experienced amazing transformation as well. You know, she experienced 7 years of extreme horrific sexual abuse at the hands of her father from age 12 to 19. That is, you just don't understand what she went through. But you could have went through something identical to it or worse than that, something completely different. We've all been through some stuff. And if we keep living long enough, there's going to be some more stuff. But Rhea has experienced amazing personal transformation, and she shares her story in 3 of her books. So if you know someone who might benefit from hearing Rhea's story, and she speaks very deeply about hope and resilience and all that sort of stuff. And if somebody out there has been through some really serious traumatic stuff, that's 2 of the main components they need. They need hope, whether it's from within or they need to borrow it from someone else, and they need to understand about being resilient. And a lot of times people need to see somebody else who's went through it so that they can have hope that, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. And that's why she shares her story in those books. She's got a book called Rhea's Story from Ashes to Beauty, Beyond Bound and Broken, A Journey of Healing and Resilience, and then Bridges Out of the Past, A Survivor's Lessons on Resilience. And you can actually watch a 7-minute TED Talk on that video. If you want to see an amazing individual, you go to Rhea's Story, Rhea like Kia the car, but with an R, RIASTORY.com. Scroll down that homepage a little ways, and you'll see there's a TEDx video of her sharing 7 minutes in Wilmington, Delaware, on her story. And that's 7 minutes out of 7 years, what you're going to get right there. But if you or someone in your life, you know you can benefit from her story, she's got 3 books on her story, and she speaks about it and talks about it all around the country. She just got a request just a week or so ago to speak at the Capitol in D.C. About trafficking. It's going to be pretty cool if it all comes through. As I'm telling you this right now, we don't know for sure, but it sounds like she's going to be invited to speak at the Capitol to senators and representatives and CEOs of major companies around the U.S. and big donors and musicians, big league musicians. A lot of people with a lot of influence going to be in that room, and they're thinking that Vice President Pence's wife may be the keynote speaker. Don't know if that's final. That's not finalized that I know of. But all that is due to her transformation. Many people who go through what Rhea went through end up on drugs, alcohol. They become prostitutes. A bunch of them commit suicide. They don't do what Rhea's doing. They don't write books about their story. They don't get on stage and tell people about it. And they can't because they haven't had transformation. So throughout this series, my goal, my intent is to encourage you, engage you, and empower you as you become more focused and intentional about moving from where you are to where you want to be as you create the life you want. There are no shortcuts. I'm going to tell you that. However, you can intentionally accelerate your transformation with knowledge, understanding, and focused application of the right principles at the right time. You got to figure that out. That's why you need to get this book and go through it. So I'm excited to do this series with you. But your ability to effectively move from where you are to where you want to be in any area of your life will be determined by your ability to transform your thinking relative to that area of your life. When it comes to true transformation, if you don't go within, you will go without. You are the key to your success. So join me next week and let's get started on this series. Talk to you next time.
Make it happen or someone else will. It might as well be you. Are you serious about taking your career and your life to the next level and beyond? Check out Mac Story's Blue Collar Leadership Series books and others, now available on audio, along with paperback and ebooks at Amazon, iTunes, and Audible. Please visit bluecollarleadership.com to learn about Mac's books, programs, special offers, certifications, and more. Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Leadership Podcast.